as well. On the flip side, though, I think the opposite is true. We have teams that we expected to show up and perform and haven't necessarily, and that one is Gaimin. Gaimin Gladiators, again, we continue to highlight them. We don't want to talk negatively on them because they obviously are one of the best teams historically, but they got to wake up. We don't see them in the standings overall. We haven't seen them perform consistently in games number 1 and 2. We talk about this being a do-or-die type of Pro League day for them as we're entering the halfway point. What do you want to see out of Gaimin here? What hasn't been working for them in your eyes, guys?
Yes, it's tough, isn't it? Because every time we've jumped on board with them, they've been caught in a fight, whether that be mid-rotation where they weren't expecting it or a third party arrives. It just seems to be there's an excuse for Gaimin Gladiators every time, but you've got to try and minimize those risks. You've got to try and do something a little bit different, whether that's going to be a composition change, whether it's going to be your method of rotation. Are you going to rotate faster? Should you be rotating slower? These are all the questions that they're going to be asking themselves, because individually we know they have the potential, they have the skill ability to take these fights, but they just seem to be caught off guard each time. So I'm hoping that the Gaimin Gladiators can find some of the form that we've seen previously when they were competing in other pro leagues, but for now they are struggling, that's for sure.
Well said. All eyes on Gaimin. For those that are not aware, Gaimin Gladiators, formerly FA Kitties, former Gambit Esports, the team that dominated the beginnings of the ALGS in Emea, has been nowhere to be found the first 3 weeks of Pro League. Can they turn it around today? That is the question. I want to point out, Ember won that last game, and actually, quick discussion point, Dan, not to disagree or kind of be the pessimistic one here in the discussion, but you always kind of make a point of the teams that are closest to circle have a clear advantage. The stats don't lie. If I recall correctly from Champs, the stats actually show that it was 50-50, split down the middle. And from what I've seen overall, I'd love to actually, if we haven't, a statistical breakdown, anyone that's been tracking it, or anyone in the community that is passionate wants to take a look, I'd be curious to see what the statistic is, because Ember wins that last game actually playing far from zone.
Yeah, championships, we saw it a much more even split. I think as the meta changed coming into this season, we've started to see it be more focusing around defensive legends and Watson coming back into it. Certainly the first couple of weeks was very zone heavy and those who early rotated. But now, especially in Emea, with the meta shifting again, getting a little bit more aggressive here or there, I think we are going to see more teams, as you say, getting victories from a little bit further away. And I think that is good for the health of the game, for the health of the meta as well, because it means there's a bit more variety on who is winning those games, and it's not just about, oh, well, you had the zone close to you. There are some teams who are going to be able to prove that, and it makes it more impressive when a team gets a victory and they've had to travel the entire map because they've had to battle through some of these teams who have been set up for the entire game.
Yeah, that's a great point. It really depends on kind of where the meta is currently at. And at Champs, the Seer meta came out of nowhere, was so popular and so effective for teams like Furia and others that you were able to see a lot more edge teams win. But currently, Watson is in play. You see a lot more Newcastle in play. Speaking of Newcastle, we're switching over to Ascend. You see them rocking Newcastle right here. And that's why early rotates and being closer to zone has certainly been the advantage. But for those that are maybe new to competitive Apex, or not entirely sure what we're talking about, historically in Apex, there's been 2 playstyles or somewhere in the middle as a hybrid. Playstyle number 1, early rotate, and play defensive legends and use those defensive legends to secure placement points is the focus. Make it to late game, you'll pick up some kills there. Playstyle number 2, an edge fighting playstyle. You're constantly playing the edge of the zone, you're rotating in on the back end, and you're taking fights along the way as you slowly inch your way in, and then when you get to the late game, you hope that you can just bully your way into Godspot or into a position to win the game, or a hybrid of both. You see some teams that flex depending on where the zone pulls and can play both playstyles. A lot of discussion on, does edge fighting, or do edge fighting teams really exist anymore? Just because the comp is so is so different, the meta is so different. Right now we got Ascend dropping on a team again.
Yeah, great shots already from Ascend, just Valkyrying in, making sure they can get aggressive on a team that they knew was already up here, and they've got the first knock, and that means that this should be just cleanup crew now. Ascend are one of those squads that when they have the advantage, they usually press on it, and you are going to see them get that finish and take over this building. So Ascend trying to take high ground, trying to prioritize positioning already, but it is edge positioning right now. You can see on their minimap, they still have to move a little bit to get into the next circle, but this is what Ascend have done so well throughout these last few weeks of Pro League, is they kind of move in on teams, take their position, take their loot, and then they move again. They're constantly getting aggressive.
Yeah, well, hey, we got an opportunity to listen into Ascend in the fight here. Third party is looming. Let's jump into a listen in here with Ascend.
Behind you.
On me one. Dead. 1v1.
Post. 1v1. Has him. He's pushing the other door.
This door.
He's pushing that door post.
Just heal up. Pop a medkit if you need to.
I'm gonna close this door. He's not gonna push from this side. Just heal. The other guy is gonna open the door.
I know, no worries. I'm watching.
I'm gonna
can
head
try
catch.
He kicked the door. He's going
Button
inside.
and res.
Hold on. Let me help you.
You're fine, you're fine, you're fine. He's gonna cancel rest. He's on me, he's on me, he's going left on your door.
What? Catch, you close the door. Come on, man.
And it's going to be 3Tricks who clutches up in the 1v1 against Ascend to keep his team alive, despite that being a 2v3 overall. What a play showcasing the skill here for the Corporate Boys.
Yeah, so difficult to try and navigate those 1v1s, but a great time to go into the listening with Ascend, talking about who's holding what door, the information that's been sent across, whether you should res, whether you can res, are you going to get the opportunity to do so? But the Seer ability coming in amazing there, just being able to deny the res, I think really won that fight, because then suddenly he was out of sorts post-kill, he was out of position, and just unfortunately not able to hit the shots there with the Mastiff meant that he did go down a little bit earlier than he would have expected. Frustrating for Ascend, considering their success that we've seen as of late, but sometimes that is going to be how the cookie crumbles.
That's right, frustrating indeed, but I'm a bit curious as to why he went for the res, knowing he was going up against a Seer, kind of KYP, know your personnel, know who you're playing up against, and in that scenario, the res probably not the best decision in the 1v, and as a result, outpositioned, outclassed. Nice job by 3Tricks in the 1v1 against post-kill. But let's switch on over to Horizon, a team that we saw make it into the top 2 last game. Again, not many kills to their name, but they got the placement points. It was a meager 8 or 9 points that they have overall, that they're riding in the top 7 placement right now, but they're looking to go consistently in their back-to-back.
Beacon information, of course, very important here for Horizon, so they're kind of hovering around this area. They've got zone information. They could get it again as the zone 2 closes as well. As all these teams starting to move a little bit quicker into circle. As I look at the map overhead, there is a lot of squads already featuring on the southeast side of the map, kind of banking on a big old pull here. And that means that those who are on the west side are going to really struggle to get in the later stages. But 0-0 on the ability to kind of look around with the drone here. The drone was the word I was looking for. And just having the crypto on your squad can be so important in a Watson meta. We see 5 cryptos selected at the moment. That's 25% of the lobby with the ability to take down these fences. So it is not as easy for Watsons to set up and feel secure.
Every single fence deleted, but they're not going to be able to play off that action here. Forge should be secure on the high ground, and they had to be careful because we know that Vexed just took out Na'Vi nearby. So Vexed, one of the most aggressive fighting teams, not afraid to play and W key for position. So if you enter a fight, you're instantly going to get third-partied, and that's why, despite taking out some fences there, you didn't see Horizon try to capitalize. Thoughts on Horizon's position right now? I don't think they have a Watson to their name, so they're a little bit exposed, but we've seen a few teams kind of win from those trenches. Do you think they're well poised here in this late game?
Yeah, they're in a pretty good spot over towards the area where they've been holding at the moment. Launchpad seems to be where everyone's kind of banking on, so you've just got to expect that there's a lot of teams that are going to be trying to take those areas off you. So it's about how you set up and how you defend, and are you in a position to quickly get aggressive when those teams do arrive. We saw the KC Pioneers doing it in game number 1 when teams started to land around them in the late game. They quickly pushed out of their building, got the kills, and then retreated back into their building. It's a very fine balance that you have to try and make sure you have positioning for. But the map is certainly getting busy over towards Launchpad. Everyone is sending it over there. There are buildings that you can play, but those who are outside of them at the moment are having a tough time, and that's why they're all just taking these pop shots at one another, letting them know they're there. There's the map overhead for you.
Oh boy.
You can see that congestion in the southeast side of the map right now.
Yeah. So as we take a moment away from Launchpad and over to our edge fighting teams, we have Element 6. You see at the top left of your screen there. Element 6 versus Phoenix Legacy in an edge skirmish. Will they end up taking this fight, or will they just peacefully coexist and rotate into zone? Eventually, though, they're likely going to run into each other. So if they don't fight now, they will later. And you saw that was actually Effects box there. I think Alliance out of this lobby. So that's going to open up an opportunity for other teams to step up. One of those teams, well, it could be Vexed. They dropped Launchpad. And because they dropped Launchpad, they had a beacon there. They had the intel. So they were able to not only pick up a couple kill points, 5 kills to their name, but they also should have their pick at Godspot overall here as 3 Muppets take some casualties.
3 Muppets just trying to get back up onto their feet, as again they're around Launchpad as well as what seems like the entire lobby at this point. Everyone trying to fight for a little bit of positioning, a little bit of map to play with, and as you can see, some better than others, because 3 Muppets do not have much to work with. Vex, however, they have a little bit more territory. They're being a little bit more sporadic with their placement because they can afford to kind of look for these teams that are around them. It looks like Vex are wanting to take a fight, which I'm not really surprised when you look at their composition with the Horizon coming in as well to give you that elevation to get above teams. And after what we saw in game number 2, we know that Vexed have the possibility to get aggressive, and we know that they can win fights.
That's right. They've already done so. Not many teams will be gifted the zone right to their drop spot and a beacon, yet still have 5 kill points, as opposed to just saying, hey, let's be content taking God spot and chilling. They say, nah, let's hold a ton of positioning, and let's try and fight any team that contends for God spot. That's exactly what you saw right here. Bitfix Gaming with Lil Max coming from Middle East. They find themselves in a fight against Heroes. French squad picking up Uchako, former Kick Esports star. Here they are in their debut in a big 3v3 fight, but Uchako's going to go down early.
Yeah, goes down and needs a little bit of help now. Wrath is still alive. I'm going to be able to get this battery off. But where's the assistance? This is a horrible place to try and play. Try and navigate around all these bars down bottom middle. And now in a 1 versus X, this is going to have to go for a res, potentially, just to try and get any sort of help from a third party. But unfortunately, as always, Sia denies everything, John. And now Bitfix Gaming to come and just be cleanup crew here.
Yeah, that 75% seer pick rate in this lobby is going to come through. Lil Max and Bitfix Gaming with a big 3v3 fight against the Heroes. Let's switch on over to Element 6. We told you, the fight against Phoenix Legacy will continue. There will be a next chapter to that one, and I believe this is it. We got Liffin, the new pickup for this squad, who's been an absolute rock star for them, having to go huge with Storm eating away their health.
Should be able to get in, should be safe, should be comfortable where they are. I think they're a little bit worried what could be coming from behind them as well. They will know whether another team is going to be in the vicinity. You can see the angles they're watching. They're very aware that if a team does arrive behind them, they're going to have first shot on them. But just like they know they're going to be rotating from that way, another team would also have the awareness that Element 6 were there. So they've probably moved off to a different location. I'm trying to see who it is. It looks like it's going to be Game of Drones who are in the same area. And Alliance also moved. Yeah, you're right. Alliance moved down on the eastern side.
That's right. Alliance was actually able to take out all 3 members of Phoenix Legacy. They are out. G Dolphin in his debut with this team. Still running that Rampart. Also announced he's coaching the Tripods in North America. So he's always trying to stay on top of his game as one of the best coaches and players, streamers, content creators. But right now, Phoenix Legacy needs to go big on World's Edge. They are out. I'm surprised at Alliance. We saw Effects Deathbox earlier. So I thought maybe they are out as a team. Looks like they're still in this game. I don't know if they got the res on Effects. It was Yuki that picked up all 3 kills on Phoenix Legacy. He's currently the kill leader of this lobby.
Well, I think what Alliance is going to try and do is rotate on the eastern side of the circle here and try and sneak into Launchpad, but it's whether there's already a team watching them. As for Gamer Drones, they are going to be moving now down towards the northern side of this circle. They were another team that I think E6 was a little bit concerned about, and they may well meet E6 if they keep going east here. They are going to run straight into them, but are they aware? I think E6 might have the jump on them if they're not careful, but of course, with the Seer, you're going to get that information, you're going to have that heartbeat sensor, and now suddenly they are well aware that E6 are in the area.
That's right. Big fight about to ensue, and guess what? We got to listen in ready for you. Let's jump into a listen and hear the comms of Game of Drones.
One is on top, one is on top.
Blocking up.
Watch out, is on top left. It's about
Back to gun zone.
one is
Close on me.
close to me, touch. Flash.
Flash,
Knock.
flash. Nice. I'm batting.
Nice.
I'm in zone. In zone.
Flash.
Dead.
Dead.
We're getting
Behind.
shot back.
New team.
Keep going. Finish first swap. On me. Purple.
Push forward, yeah. You all with only 2. Or 1 go.
No. The nade.
Everyone's fucking...
Gladiators, they light it up. Here we go. We called them out. We said they need a big game number 3. So far, so good, but their biggest challenge is ahead of them. It's the rotation in. They're playing Edge again. They're playing a much different team comp than we saw that Newcastle pick in the week number 1. They're playing a lot more aggressive. They're playing Edge, and this is the place that's always worked for them.
Yeah, these zones moving quicker than they used to back in the day, certainly Zone 1 anyway, so it's never been easy to play Edge just because it's all sped up a little bit, and that's why it's kind of benefited those who do rotate a little bit earlier. But when you see that success, when you see people who are still finding the victories and the kills with their Edge positioning, then you've always got to take your hats off to them, because it is not easy to do nowadays with the meta that we currently see. As Gaming Gladiators, we've spoke about them, we've said they've not been at their very best. In fact, they've been nowhere near their very best. But that could all turn around very quickly as we get to the halfway point of today's action, our last game on Stormpoint before we go into World's Edge. If they can get a big game here, if they can get some confidence, they know that World's Edge is their home, where they've done so much damage elsewhere, and perhaps they can start to make amends for some disappointing performances in previous weeks.
Yeah, and they got a great drop spot in World's Edge as well, dropping in former Sorting Factory, now Lava Siphon. So a good opportunity for them going into Game 4, but it would be great to have some cushion with points. Great showing so far for Gaiman. A fan favorite, Hardeki, once considered to be one of the best players in the world, one of the best IGLs in the world, and one of the best Wraiths in the world. Obviously, Wraith no longer in meta. We'll see if Hardeki can return to that once former glory. No doubt in my mind that he can. And look, you have to understand with Gaiman, they didn't play with Artico for nearly a year. They were playing with PKMK and a sub. It takes time to acquaint yourselves with that third to kind of get back in the swing of things. So we'll see if Gaiman can turn it around. Artico, one of the top players and performers from the Ukraine. Fortunately, due to the war and conflict, not able to attend a few LAN events. We'll see how they will return. Max Strathi in a similar boat.
Information trying to be gathered by the drone. As I look at the map overhead, GG, one of the few teams outside of zone at the moment. KCP also find themselves outside as well as EKO. So those squads are going to have to make their way in. But as we look center zone, Horizon, we touched on them a little bit earlier. We saw they were in a great position, but elsewhere, Pioneers are getting an engagement here, John.
Yeah, it's Turkish Stars right in front of them. All three members of KCP still up, able to hit reset and heal back up, and the Turkish Stars will be eliminated. And I love how they played that in that moment. And here's a note for anyone, you know, silver, gold, aspiring Apex players. There's a concept of you've done enough. If you do 100, 120 damage, but you take 60 damage, you've done enough. You don't got to finish those kills. You broke ice, you did the damage, and you set your team up for success. And that was the situation right there. I think it was Nasky who was the tip of the spear, broke ice and did the damage initially for Strathi and Dell to be able to clean it up. They come out on top in that 3v3, and they will now work and rotate their way in to some success. Kansas City Pioneers, Gaiman Gladiators, some of our biggest names in Apex still alive in this lobby.
A lot of teams moving in from the east side, but I did mention earlier, Alliance, they were moving all the way around. They were rotating and trying to sneak their way into Launchpad. Well, their journey has now arrived in the middle of Launchpad. They have been able to actually successfully get into a zone area where they could win the game, but it's about whether anyone got eyes on them, so we'll have to see a little bit later. As for now, Pioneers, as they move in, they've got GG above them, they've got EKO below them. This is not going to be easy whatsoever, John, because two squads are going to be staring at them here.
Yeah, that's right. It's going to be a tough rotation. Oh my goodness, here comes the push. Kansas City Pioneers knocked and about to be out of this lobby as Zuni and Artico both contribute. Gaiman Gladiators is having their way. Nicely placed Arcstar right there for Hardeki, and this is the Gaiman we're used to seeing, flowing so well as a team, and despite being under duress, comfortable being uncomfortable, picking up kill points along the ways and making plays every step of the way, as well as Gaiman gets some more damage with the Arcstar, but decides not to push. They're now stuck as a meat of a sandwich with two teams to the right and left.
Moving and grooving our Gaming Gladiators, just as they used to do, looking like the Gaming Gladiators of old, and now getting aggressive again and just finding a team with a tail between their legs here. It should be cleanup crew. 1-2 go down, but Artico clutches up and should have the time to be able to get these players up and restabilize before their push into the next circle. Yes, okay, there is going to be a drone in the area, but judging by where those teams currently are, they should be fine. I think Horizon is taking a little peek at this. Urban is certainly trying to get into an area, and Urban will actually get the missile swarm down, but it's whether Urban wants to push on this. I don't think Horizon will commit this heavily to this KP, considering the position they're in right now.
That's right. So actually, Horizon is the team that's rocking the drone. So they had the intel from the drone, and Horizon pushed up just to try and be a nuisance, maybe try and see if they can make a play out of this. But ultimately, they decide not to push, because guess what? Ember is going to be the team that's flying at them. Horizon, I believe that's them. Yes, it is. No, it's Alliance. Sorry, I take that back. Alliance taken out to the hands of Ember. This is where we saw Horizon earlier in the lobby. Not sure where Horizon is currently positioned, but Ember looking to go back-to-back. 7 squads remain here. We have Gaiman, we have Ember, we have Alliance recently eliminated, but Horizon, I believe Vex still alive as well.
Well, the position that Ember were in, Horizon are in pretty much the identical position just south of them on the little bridge extension. This is where both of these teams are going to be, but now this is where the fights are going to ensue, right? GG are going to try and push this little bridge. This is where Ember are. Jay Savage and the rest of the squad are currently on the other side of this as well, so Ember just get collapsed on by everyone, and now the bridge is suddenly Gaming Gladiators, so a team who was out of nowhere finds themselves in one of the best positions in the game at the moment.
And Hardeki, this is Hardeki, remnant of the 2 year ago Hardeki we're used to seeing with a wingman, not missing shots right now. Hardeki is lighting it up, and Gaiman going to find themselves a knock on Jay Savage of Forge. Quite a few more kill points for Gaiman. 6 squads remain, and they're showing no signs of slowing down here, Dan.
Yeah, Horizon and Gaiman Gladiators, the two teams with some of the best positions at the moment, but it's about where this next circle goes, where it moves to, who's going to get the better position, or is it going to be between them? It's going to be very much central in the water area as as we get into the final circle. 4 squads left as it's going to close slowly now around them. Gaming Gladiators probably the closest team to where that circle is going to finish. They shouldn't have to move for quite some time now. So it's going to be about the other teams. When do they move? How do they move here? As there is Watson fences occupying so much of this space.
Beautiful overhead camera. Look at Phoenix. 20 HP to his name. Hardeki on Seer says, I see you. And Phoenix is going to finally show himself and get taken out from this lobby. Forge eliminated. Jay Savage as well. Guyman picks up 2 more kills. That's 9 total for them. And 3 squads remain. We got LFO, team of 3, Horizon, team of 3, and Guyman Gladiators, team of 3 to close this one out.
This is really going to be the waiting game. When do you push? Do you try and be the aggressor? Do you try and maybe get an ability or a grenade off to try and encourage the other team to actually push? Or do you accept that you're not in one of the better positions, that you might have to play for second place here? But all the meanwhile, the circle is going to start to close around you, and it is really going to increase the speed of which you need to be thinking about where you go next. A tough final circle to navigate. Gaming Gladiators, I would say, in my opinion, have the best position, but you could also say that LFO, with the ability to walk out from cover underneath, probably feel pretty good about themselves as well. It's just a case of who shoots who first here.
That's right. Waiting game indeed. And of course, right now you got to think LFO. Thank God they have Watson, but they are the team in the center, which means they will likely be the team that's going to be first to be under duress. Horizon makes the first move on high ground here, and rightfully so. Wise decision to take high ground and close your way in. That high ground's going to be all types of advantage. Mobile respawn beacon going to drop just for some extra cover. The damage has been done, and Horizon's going to be able to heal up.
So much shots going down, but it's mostly hitting the generator at the moment. Gaming Gladiators still a full 3 as Mimu is the first to go down from Horizon. So Gaming Gladiators still in one of the better positions. Artigo wants the swap but can't get the swap, but they are able to back off. They are trying to force LFO closer to their opposition right now as they can just hold down this ground and they can nade for free.
That's right, and those nades are going to connect. Not a lot of damage, though, courtesy of the nurse to the Arc Stars, but Guyman does the damage. Bow check, bow in hand of Hardeki. He's going to connect. Horizon's going to be taken out first, and Guyman Gladiators will clean up after. They're going to do it. Game number 3 with a 10-plus kill game for Guyman. They go huge and respond to the Call of Duty, Dan.
It's about time. We saw the Gaming Gladiators do what we know they are capable of, what they should have been doing